If you've got a pool in Florida, you know the dream, but you also know the reality, right? Sometimes it feels less like a luxury and more like a high-maintenance liability. Today, we're going to break down why that is and look at the engineering behind the perfect Florida solution.
You see comments like this all the time from people living in Florida. It's this shared understanding. It's not just a nice to have. For so many, a pool cage or a lanai is an absolute must-have if you actually want to enjoy your own backyard. And this brings us to a real family in Orlando, Mark and Sarah. They loved their patio. They saw it as an extension of their living room. It was supposed to be the spot for weekend barbecues, for kids' pool parties, but that Florida dream kept running into the Florida reality.
So let's really dive into the problems they were facing with their unscreened pool. Because, believe me, it goes so much deeper than just a few annoying bugs.
For Mark and Sarah, it was this daily grind. Every evening, the mosquitoes and those awful biting midges would come out, and just like that, the party was over. Everyone chased inside. Every single morning started with Mark skimming leaves and gunk out of the water. And underneath all of that was this constant nagging worry about the safety of their kids and their pets around that open water. It was just exhausting.
But here's the thing. Beyond all those frustrations they could see, there was this invisible problem, a really expensive one that they didn't even realize was happening. And it all comes down to this number, 90%. What on earth could that be?
Well, here's the science. In that intense Florida sun, the UV radiation is so strong, it can literally destroy up to 90% of your pool's free chlorine in just 2 hours. Think about that. That means you are constantly fighting to keep your water chemistry balanced, basically just pouring money into the pool only to have it vaporize into thin air.
And that's exactly why the solution had to be way more than just a simple bug screen. What Mark and Sarah needed was a real piece of sophisticated engineering, designed from the ground up to handle the unique Florida environment.
We really need to stop thinking of these as just pool cages. That name doesn't do it justice. A better way to think about it is as an environmental control system. It's a whole structure engineered to manage everything the Florida climate can throw at it. So that screen mesh, it does a lot more than keep bugs out. It's actually a passive solar shield. By blocking up to 65% of those UV rays, it stops that chlorine from just burning off. Not only does that stabilize your water and save you money, but it can also cool the water temperature by up to 10 degrees. How good does that sound in the middle of August? And it's not just about the sun. The structure also acts as an aerodynamic shield. It's engineered to meet tough Florida building codes by breaking up wind currents. This can slash the wind speed on your patio by up to 70%. During a storm, that is a world of difference when it comes to protecting your home from flying debris. Of course, a shield is only as good as the materials it's made from, and this was a huge concern for Mark and Sarah. They were terrified of getting some flimsy structure that wouldn't make it through a real Florida storm. This is the million-dollar question every Florida homeowner asks, right? It's a big investment, so you need to know, is this thing truly engineered to survive that brutal combination of insane humidity, corrosive salt air, and hurricane-force winds? The answer is yes, absolutely, if it's built the right way. A professional-grade frame uses marine-grade aluminum that won't rust out. The fasteners are stainless steel, but they have this ceramic coating to stop that chemical reaction that makes cheaper screws rust and snap. And the whole thing is locked down with engineered anchors that go deep into the footer slab. Now that is what durability looks like. And the system is completely customizable. It is not one size fits all. You actually pick the mesh based on what you need. Standard fiberglass is great for airflow. If you're dealing with those tiny nose seams, you'll want the tighter weave of micromesh. Got a dog or a cat? Pet screen is reinforced to handle their claws. And that Florida gloss you see along the bottom, that's great for privacy, and it blocks all the dirt and water that gets kicked up by lawnmowers. Okay, so the engineering is sound, but what about the actual process of getting it built? For a busy family, that can feel like the biggest hurdle of all. And this was absolutely critical for Mark and Sarah. They're a working couple, they've got school-aged kids. They do not have time to manage a big construction project. What they needed was a turnkey solution, where the pros just handle everything. And that is exactly what a professional blueprint looks like. It all starts with precise site engineering. Then, you get to customize all the details. And crucially, the company handles all the municipal permits, which, if you've ever dealt with that, you know is a huge headache. After that, the pro crew comes in and builds it, and the whole thing ends with a final certification backed by a solid warranty. It's just a seamless, hands-off process.
So, after all the engineering and the process, we get to the most important part, the transformation. This is about more than a structure. It's about reclaiming your backyard and your lifestyle.
For Mark and Sarah, this was no exaggeration. The change wasn't slow or gradual, it was instant. The very moment that enclosure was finished, they had the outdoor living space they had always wanted.
And this really breaks down the total return on investment. It's not just an expense. Think of it as a mandatory defense system for living in Florida. You get a financial ROI by saving on chemicals, you get a lifestyle ROI by finally getting to use your space, and you get a structural ROI from a durable, code-compliant addition that actually protects your home.
And what did that ROI look like for Mark and Sarah in real life? It meant family barbecues where they weren't getting eaten alive by bugs. It meant a pool that stayed clean with almost no work. And most importantly, it meant a safe, comfortable space where their kids and pets could just play. Their backyard was no longer a part-time hassle. It was a full-time sanctuary.
This really shows the complete shift in their daily lives. The pool went from being a maintenance liability to a protected sanctuary. Constant frustration was totally replaced by year-round enjoyment, and a source of constant worry was transformed into complete peace of mind.
And that really brings us to the final question. If any of those before descriptions felt a little too familiar, the bugs, the cleaning, the worry, then maybe it's time to ask yourself, are you ready to reclaim your own outdoor space?
If you are tired of the daily pool cleaning and the endless insect bites, it is time to upgrade your backyard. Just click the link in the description below to request a professional consultation with Screen Factory Florida and start designing your perfect outdoor space today.